people. So I did have pictures, images here that I did want to put up, but my image is not working right now. So that's what we working with, people. So um, I wanted to elaborate some more on that movie Sinners because that's how good that movie is. That movie really put a lot on your mind, especially if you already had a lot on your mind. So can I spiritually have you take a walk with me into my mind or my imagination about this movie Sinners? Um, I watched a couple of different people's perspective about the movie, right? So me watching other people break it down made me think about what I already came up with my own initiative, plus what they, because when other people say what they think, it make you open your mind up. It makes you, here, go in there, go get Angel, greetings. Love you, but you can't play over here. Greetings, greetings. Yes, greetings, greetings. Um, so in the movie, like, okay, so watching other people' perspective, I seen somebody perspective where they was talking about the hats, and they talked about in the beginning of the movie, Sammy's hat was just like Stack's hat. Stacks was the younger brother who needed to be protected. Stacks was the brother who got turned into the VP. Stacks was the brother who, out the twin brothers, that's who Stacks was. So in the beginning of the movie, he started out with Stacks. He was rolling with Stacks. That's who he hopped in the car with when he went on his journey. Um, I didn't really realize that. And then when he performed and he opened up the portal, he didn't have on the hat. At the end of the movie, he ended up wearing a hat like Smoke, the oldest brother that's mature, that became an ancestor. And when that ancestor, he had at the end of the movie, the end credit, Stacks, which turned into the VP, went to go see him. And he asked him, he said, "Do you want to live forever? Because I can smell death coming." And Sammy said, "Yeah, I want to go ahead and pat and, go on to the other side. I have no desire to live forever." So he didn't sell his soul, because he wanted to end this life and continue on into another life, right? Continue on into another dimension of reality instead of staying locked into this one, right? So, um, something else that really stood out to me too was on the scene where Pearl Lane performs Pale Pale Moon. I went back and listened to the lyrics of that song. And Pale Pale Moon, they was doing a ritual and didn't even know it. The fact that they was stomping on the ground, they was in the delta. I started connecting some things here I don't really want to talk about on here, but I started connecting some things like, wait, hold on, something deeper than what I know, what I have knowledge of is going on here. Um, the fact that woman had on a blue dress. Um, it was just a lot. It was a lot of things that really stood out in that movie that really make you think. Because I was already thinking what happened to the ancient Mississippi civilization. And as I read the books and I found out like it say that a pale man arrived. Then I just start thinking like a pale man. Pale as in soulless. Um these soulless beings that are people encountered a long time ago. They had, this is who they went to war with, right? When I was saying that our ancestors went to war with people, with not people, with entities. Um, these entities have the ability to compel. Compel is hypnotization. Hypnotization is mind control. Mind control is programming. Programming is brainwash, using mind control, using psychological strategies. I start really thinking about what what that is. Like this is this is deep. This is deep. And then I end up watching this movie called Miss Everest Boys. And that movie really helped me see a lot of things too, because in that movie they used this woman and they miseducated her and told her that all the men in the city had this disease and they were actually experimenting on them, and they put their names on lists so they couldn't get treatment for these diseases that they was infecting them with, because they was doing studies on them and running experiments, which we got images on that in other labs, right? So I'm just sitting there like, wow. um the whole time, like at first when it first happened, I don't think the woman knew that she was a part of that, but as it went on, it started to come out, and she was more conscious of what was going on. And it just let me know it was a lot of things. And that movie took place in the 1930s as well. And that was in Macon County, Alabama. And they call it the Mecca as well. And then it was like talking about the Devil's Punch Bowl, and that was the concentration camps that were in Mississippi. This was around the 1930s too, and they had these concentration camps, and a lot of people disappeared. Like over 20,000 people disappeared, and now they have this grove that's down in there, and they call it the Devil's Punch Bowl. And all these peaches and stuff grow, but nobody eats the peaches because they know what happened there. And that also happened during the 1930s. between the period of 1920 to 1930, it was a lot of things going on in the land. I mean, even when you factor in that it was fires all over the land in 1920, you could go look it up. It was fires in Seattle, it was fires in Memphis, it was fires in Chicago, Detroit, Mississippi, you name it. I mean, they show us in Mississippi burning, but we didn't know everything was on fire. You know what I'm saying? Like Wisconsin, New York, everything was on fire. They show in the images that I have in other labs that I have done, it is libraries that were being burnt up. It was monuments, statues, um, this is your real history that was actually being destroyed because they called it reconstruction of history. I mean, some people say it's Black Wall Street. Some people call it reconstruction of history. Some people call it the Great Fires, the Great Ruins. But when you start connecting all these dots, it's like, like that's just studying history when you start learning things and start putting together timelines from what you know. And I just happen to know from studying, I studied this particular thing here, and then I studied this thing, and I studied that thing, and I started noticing these was all around the same time frame. And that's what kind of, so for this movie to come out and this movie on the same time and as the time frame I was already studying, it kind of got me thinking. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to figure out the time order of what happened to our people. And I could see if our people was living in these areas and they had these little juke joints and if these things was really going on in the land, I could see how our people could be in compromising situations. You get what I'm saying? Like it's just I could see how everything happened because I just been studying what happened to us. Like really what happened to us, and basically some invaders had showed up, like you said, 1492. Some people showed up, some entities showed up, and it's been going down ever since, to my knowledge of what I've been studying. And there has been, so I do know too that fear is one of the things that they work off of. And fear is when they able to control your emotions. Fear is when they able to make you feel helpless. Fear is when they able to make you feel like you a victim and you need help. Or fear is, so all of that is mind control when somebody can put you in a state of mind where you fear something. Cause that make the Bible make so much sense when you know that it's a Bible scripture that say God did not give you the spirit of fear. So when you know that, whether you read it or not, when you know like given, you was not created with a spirit of fear. The spirit of fear does not belong to you. So then when you start learning that fear also is an acronym that means false evidence appearing real, you start to be able to look at things with your third eye and look beyond fear. Because if you're going to be in this spiritual warfare, one thing is you cannot let fear control you. Because fear is your enemy's weapon. It say, know your enemy. That's your enemy's weapon, fear. Your enemy depends on you to be misinformed. Your enemy depends on you to be confused. Your enemy depends on you to be afraid. Your enemy depends on you to be lost because you could be misled. See, if you focus and you know what time it is and you know what's going on, you can't be controlled. Why? Because you conscious, you aware, you know. See, your enemy don't want you conscious and aware. That's why they keep us distracted. So it's on you to study. It's on you to stay aware. It's on you to stay on top. It's on you to, if you do fear something, to get knowledge on it so you can have power over it instead of it having power over you. Because there are a lot of people, I've been saying for a long time that it is going to be a lot of unveiling coming. And if you lack knowledge, you're going to, it's, I don't know what to tell you because you're going to be afraid. You got to think how many people don't study and how many people are just going to watch this movie and they getting shook up right now. You have to think about that. Because even though I am creating this content and I'm in my mind, I'm thinking you on the level I'm on, everybody not on our level. Everybody can't handle the truth. Some people don't understand why people are superstitious. Some people don't understand why some people are real big on energy, or why some people do some of the things that they do that they call weird, because weird is supernatural. See, those of us that embrace being weird, we realize that we live inside of a realm that is supernatural. And there are a lot of things that you cannot see with your physical eyes. And if you lack knowledge, that can harm you. That is why you are led to study things. This is why certain things pique your interest. Certain things intrigue you. Why? Because you're supposed to get knowledge on those things. Why? Because that is how you strengthen your mind. That is how you strengthen your consciousness. That is how you strengthen your awareness on that thing. Everybody's supposed to be skilled at something. That's what's going to make us great, when everybody can come together with a piece of the puzzle. We all interested in something, and that something that we interested is called our purpose. Everybody got a purpose. Everybody got something to bring to the table. I guess that's the message I had to bring forth, because I thought I was coming on here to talk about that movie, but I started out talking about the movie. And you know something else I thought about in the movie? That movie, oh my goodness. So remember when the people started to get violent? Okay, so the violence was a programming, right? Because Delta Slim told a story about how he watched them lynch his friend. They watched him castrate people. So trauma was programmed into this man. That's why he sung the blues. That's why the blues was so powerful, because of the things that he had seen in his days. Um, Remember, they rode past the men that was on the chain gang. He had memories because he said he used to be one of them. Um, so that's the chain gang. There was slavery, free labor, being a prisoner of war. Um, Also, so when they got violent inside of the little juke joint, his the end result was to put the people out. That's crazy because in all actuality, if everybody was one accord with consciousness, let's just say hypothetically, if everybody was on a high vibration like Annie, let's say when the VPs first got there and asked could they come in. Let's say Annie was at the door and Annie had peeped that from Jump Street. Let's just say hypothetically speaking that Annie peeped that there was VPs from Jump Street. Do you know them VPs could not have done nothing with us? And I say that because we strong in numbers. We strong in unity. Especially if we was all on one accord and she was able to tell us all to get some garlic and she was able to tell us all to turn the chairs in the we could have did something with them three. You get what I'm saying? We could have been powerful as a unit. But because we so you got to think everybody in there had a story. Everybody in there had been traumatized. Everybody in there had been picking cotton, had been on the everybody in there had some old jacked up story about what had happened to them. That's why they was in the juke joint to get a drink to forget their life, to drink away what they was suffering from, right? And the whole time it was a setup because you got to think the people was gonna come and, and open fire on them in the morning anyway. You feel me? So it is just crazy how that movie just really it just really make you think cause they um result was to put the people out, and when they put the people out everybody end up turning into the things. So nobody that they put out made it home. And that's crazy to know that they got us programmed like that. Because the VP was so cocky sitting outside there, like, well, we'll wait for y'all to come out. Like, we know y'all gonna come out. And the crazy thing is, if we was conscious and we was aware, nobody would have left until the sun came up. Do you see our power if we was all conscious? If we was all conscious with it, we was all on one accord with it, how we could have made it through that. Just to say we could make it through anything if we all on one accord. But because we was divided, because we started acting a fool, we ain't know how to act, start acting crazy, that's when they was like, all right, it's over with. Everybody need to go home. And then we wasn't even so even on that part where um what was I saying about the even the part when Mary came back in, like, See, if we was in tune, we wouldn't have let her back in. I'm just saying it was so many hidden gems in there that let you know your unconsciousness could be your downfall. Your unawareness could be your downfall. Like the little things you don't pay attention to could be your downfall. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't even he wasn't even aware that she asked to come back in, but yet he let her in. That goes to show too. We gotta be aware of who we got around us. You know what I'm saying? We gotta, cause it's cool. We just need somebody to work the door, but is that somebody at the door conscious? If is that somebody at the door aware? Is there somebody at the door know what's going on? Could that make you start looking at who around you? Cause even down to the part where I found out that when the war happened or whatever, that's when they brought in the segregation and um, food was made very uh, hard to get for us. So, cause that was a part of the war. They starved us out. There's documents of this. So we went through hunger and stuff as a people because we got exiled out of our own land where the fertile soil at, Mississippi, and where along the river where it's very fertile at. So we're not allowed there to grow our own food. So we got crappy soil here. We struggling to eat. So but that's a part of the agenda, right? Um, Let me think of where I was going with that, y'all, because I just went somewhere talking about who we are and how we used to live and um oh, okay, so they used basically that's how they created poverty, right? So when you starve for people out, people hungry, people become desperate. Um, when people become desperate, people will do anything. So when people get in that state of mind where they desperate and they will do anything, that's the state of mind that a lot of people started to live in, right? So that's when so they wouldn't. I found out too. Remembering sinners, that man had them wooden nickels, and the wooden nickels was only to a certain plantation. Well, depending on what plantation you was on or what that you had to work on, they had their own money. So that money was only good at that plantation store. So that meant if you worked for Mr. Bob, your money was only good at Mr. Bob's store. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of put you in a compromise, right? So a lot of people had plantation money. I didn't even know that that was a thing. So depending on what plantation that you worked on, it was plantation money, and you had to go shop at the plantation store, and it had the name of the plantation on the money. Okay, so with that being said, they said that during the segregation period, they made it very, very hard for you to purchase things because that was a part of the control and the population control, mental, psychological, all that old type of stuff, right? So that's when the Asian people had moved in and started opening up stores. And that was very productive for them as well as us because now we got options. Now all the power not in just one person hand being monopolized, right? So we depended on these Asians to open up these stores. As you can see in the movie Sinners, that's who owned the store that they went to. Um, but in the movie, hitting symbology, well, hitting symbolically, um, remember the Asian people, he hired them to work at the juke joint. And when they started, when they put everybody out, and because everybody started acting crazy, that's when the Asian man was like, I'm gonna go out here and get the car. And so they turned him. So the wife had felt some type of way because they told the VPs had told her that they going to get her daughter. And she was like, well, I go down, everybody going down. You see what I'm saying? So that was hidden symbology for how they use, because you know in the Willie Lynch letter, excuse me, they use division to divide us, right? But they showing us that the people that became acquaintance to us, they used those same people against us, right? They showed you that in the movie. It was symbolically hidden, you know, and because we are those people. When you do your history, you know, you realize that we are those people originally, right? You know what I'm saying? But it shows you how they control the narratives, what we see, what we think, what we feel, you know. Um, it just really makes you think. It just really, really makes you think. But yeah, it's just sad too that we wasn't on one accord. That's the part I'm really focused in on. Cause if we was on one accord, that movie would have been totally different. Not that it wasn't a good movie or nothing, but I'm just saying I'm just thinking beyond it. Like, damn, that's how we are in real life. Like, if that really went down in real life, it would have been like that. Like, only like two of us probably would have survived because we cannot get along. We cannot come together on one accord. We would have been in there arguing, fighting, acting a fool, unaware that somebody was outside on some other shit. You know what I'm saying? We would have been so busy in there beefing with each other because you from this street and I'm from that street, or you from the good part of the neighborhood and I'm from the bad part of the neighborhood, and we all in here under the Willie Lynch program and compelling that we don't even realize what's happening to us outside. Somebody is waiting to catch us slipping out there. You know, somebody waiting to do us real bad out there, regardless of whether you Asian or half breed or fool or whatever. They gonna do you bad too. I mean, you get what I'm saying? Because we could sit here and argue about whether your hair long or whether my hair long, whether I got good hair or not. But at the end of the day, they gonna do us all bad. That part, you know what I'm saying? So we got to come up with some type of strategy in here to stay okay. We got to come up with how we gonna get along in here so we could be alright. Cause we could be alright in here if we get our shit together. It make you think, don't it? I mean, could y'all see us though? Hypothetically speaking, could y'all see us inside that juke joint though? I mean, can y'all really see us inside the juke joint and somebody outside waiting to get us, and we in there with all the sins going on, the jealousy, the lust, the envy, the hate. You know, we in there with our Jezebel. We in there with all that going on that we can't even see. that something outside of us is, something outside waiting to get us, you know. Because that's basically how they knocked down the walls of Jerusalem, why that picture up there. Because we was on the inside and we was one. You feel me? We was in Jerusalem with the circle around the city. We was in Jerusalem protected. We was in Jerusalem. We had the Ferris wheel. We had the tribes. We was living in unity. We had energy-free buildings. We was living good. We was happy as a people. Greetings, greetings. Yes. We was doing our thing. That's a hidden symbology for being in the juke joint. We was in there, stomping on the ground, one with the ancestors, the music. We was in there connecting. We was in there healing. We was in there doing our thing. But because we start letting these energies come in between us, envy, jealous, jealousy, anger, hate. You got to think they showed us this in their movie now. They showed you the KKK for a reason. They showed you the Klan gear for a reason. Why? Because they represent hate. They represent, and then the fact that they showed you the little white, because remember that man said in the beginning, he said the Klan dead. He said the Klan don't exist no more. Hidden symbology. It's something else. It's deeper than that. We don't gotta do nothing to y'all. Y'all gonna do it to y'allself. You ain't hear me. You ain't hear that. Let me run that back. In the movie Sinners, the twins asked the man, he said, if you the Klan, don't come back here or we gonna do something to you. The leader of the Klan proceeded and said, the Klan don't exist no more. Why did the leader, the Grand Dragon, tell him the Klan don't exist no more? Why did he say that to him? Because we no longer have to do it. You gonna do it. Yes. Yes. But that's the crazy thing, cause think about it. Ain't that some VP shit? The fact that, cause think about the stories you was told about this, or in the movies that you saw. Cause I ain't read the movies that we saw. How they said they burnt crosses, or they set things on fire, or they lynch people, unalive people, um, castrated people, um, um, those type of things, right? Just ill will, sick things. Um, a lot of those things are programmed into us to where now we are doing it to each other. People outside unaliving each other because it's an energy that dwells within you. It's the energy that you have been infected with. It's an energy that, it's a parasitic energy. You got to think about that. It's in us now. So now we doing the damage. Now we doing the work. Y'all understand that? So that's why we got to do some spiritual healing and some spiritual cleansing and some soul searching and looking within to cleanse ourselves from these energies that bring us down from living in our higher self and our highest selves. Because Annie did represent living in her highest self, because Annie even had enough sense. Okay, it was so many scenes where it showed that Annie had the prophecy. See, Annie was working at the bar serving drinks to where she wasn't at the door because they had it wrong. They should have had Annie at the door, honey. Annie should have been at the door reading everybody because Annie could read. But you know, they had Annie serving drinks. So that's where they went wrong at, right? So then on the part where Stacks turned and Annie realized what was going on, Annie said, "You that ain't your brother. You need to get him out of here for he turned." They didn't have a clue what she was talking about, because at the time, shit ain't real to them. You got to think, when you got prophecy, you would say shit to people when people don't take you serious. You would say shit to people when people take it lightly. You would say shit to people when people just act like you ain't saying nothing. That's what prophecy feel like, because it's like, damn, did you hear what I said? But that's what happened when people lack knowledge, see? Because you just said some powerful shit, but they didn't respond because they didn't understand on that level. Because everybody ain't on the same frequency, see? Why we start with that? Why we got to start being in tune so we can hear folk. So, yes, you hear me? So, um, when he turned, if y'all in the movie, Andy gonna run in the back and go get them pickled garlic. The fact Andy already had pickled garlic, see, some of y'all probably slept on that. See, we be so in tune that we be taking stuff because we be knowing we gonna need it. We don't know how we gonna need it. We don't know what we gonna use it for. But something in our spirit be telling us to bring certain stuff to the table. You gotta think about that. Some of us make stuff and don't even know why we make stuff. Some of us have stuff don't you it's ancestral. That woman had pickled, not just any type of garlic. She had pickled garlic, honey. She had the exact type of garlic with the herbs that she needed in there to do what it needed to do. Because she ran and got that. Soon as that man got up and started talking, she ran and got that. So when he bust up out that room, why? Because she knew that something was about to go down. So she trusted her ancestors, and she went and got that jar that they told her to make. So then when she went and got that jar, that's when she had everybody eat one. Because now she want to see who is who. Now she need to see what's going on. So then when he bust out the door, she hit him with the juice. It burnt them. They saw it with their own eyes. They saw it destroy him. I mean, not destroy him, but they saw it have an effect on him to where they knew it was real. You know what I'm saying? So at that moment, that's when I'm just saying, like, if everybody, man, that would have been so powerful if everybody was on that frequency. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. But that's exactly why they got us against one another, because The fact that we against one another, we gonna put our people outside, and they gonna end up getting everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's really messed up. Cause we could have been a unit in there. We all could have listened to our ancestors that day and brought something to the table. We all could have been in there powerful. We all could have been there in tune. But I understand now because when you think about Annie, where do Annie live at? Somewhere in the swamp in Mississippi, in the bayou somewhere, by the water, on ancestral land. Some land that had been passed down from generation to generation. She was out there walking barefoot. She was healing people. People was coming to her house to get. She was a root worker. She had all that Florida water, the candles. Like, she looked like no matter what you got going on in your life, she got something for you. Real life medicine woman. You feel me? So that's a shaman. That's ancestral. She was living on the land, right? So imagine if we was all still in tune like that. Because that's how we used to live. We was in tune with the land. We got our food from the land. We was one with the land. And you see who he went to get the cook. He came and got Annie to cook. Why? Cause she cooking some soul food. You can't open up no juke joint and not have no soul food. So he went and got a soulful woman. They weren't asking Mary to cook. Mary wasn't a soulful woman. It ain't got nothing to do with her complexion. It was about her energy. She was talking about she'll whoop everybody ass, and Mary was on some other stuff. It was her energy. She wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Mm. But yes, that movie just got so much. It got so much depth to it, especially when you just really place it into real life events. Especially being something about the 1930s. Between the 1920s and 1930s, it was a lot of things going on in the land, man. A lot. It was a lot going on that affected us today. You got the BOMBINGs for real. It was a lot of them, and that was going on in the. I'm starting to really get it too. I'm starting to really, really get it because it always be it's the Mississippian. The Mississippian. I'm starting to really understand who the Mississippian people is. And Mississippi is not just about um the one place that they taught us on the map. Like Mississippi, they told you in the movie Mississippi reaches from Mississippi up to Chicago. So when we talk about Mississippi, we talking about up to Chicago. We talking about Indiana. We talking about Ohio. We talking about um Arkansas. We're talking about Georgia. We're talking about Florida. We're talking about North Carolina, South Carolina. We're talking about Tennessee. This is what they call the Mississippian civilization. They don't teach us that. So, and it was once called St. Louis, Mississippi. So the upper parts was St. Louis, which was the Roman Empire, and then the lower parts was Mississippi, where the fertile land is. You know, when we read in the Bible how the Bible tells us about the Nile River, the forming of the Nile River, about Ethiopia, um, the Garden of Eden. You know, in the Bible, it elaborates on all of that. You know, but we don't never connect that this is the Holy Land that is in the Bible, right? But we have connected that, right? So the fact that we have been able to connect it and know that Mississippi is Moab and we are the Moabites and this is the Moab tribe and these are the biblical people. Um and us learning that with these people, these are the Choctaw Nation. Real spill, y'all. The ancient Mississippian civilization is the Choctaw Nation and the Choctaw. Choctaw and Choctaw are two different nations, but one derives from one, and these are all associated with the Blackfoot. These are all associated with the Cherokee Nation. Uh, so they have different names when you do your studies. Um, but these are the people that they spoke of in the movie that was actually had this knowledge on how to fight these haints and these demons and all these different energies and demonic things. So why do you think the libraries was destroyed? Why do you think the libraries was set on fire? Why do you think it became illegal for us to read? Why do you think your nationality got taken away from you so you no longer know who you are? And now we over here fighting over nationality. You see, look, repeating history. We fighting over nationality. Meanwhile, they sitting outside waiting to do us bad. We in here fighting again over who is who. Right? Meanwhile, this is why we fighting, because they hit us with the trauma. This is why we fighting, because they hit us with the compellment. This is why we fighting, because they hit us with the, it's a setup. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's like history is repeating itself. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I see it. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and drop some of my words on how I was feeling and what I was thinking and, you know, what I'm feeling about that whole scenario. But I do know too that good cannot exist without evil. So I do know that. And I do know that chaos has to exist in order for order to come into existence. Yes. But yeah, so but I just want to give y'all a little food for thought on who burnt down all the libraries and why. Who got rid of your knowledge and why? Who brainwashed you and why? Who dumbed you down and why? Who made it to where you can't use your magic and why? I just wanted to put that on your mind after watching The Sinners. Think about that. Alright, so I will talk to y'all beautiful, beautiful people real soon. Alright, peace.